Welcome to another episode of Called to Marriage. I'm Marcia.
And I'm Thomas.
And today's episode is for mothers and fathers. It's for wives, but also for husbands. So please, everybody, listen to this episode.
It's probably why Charlie's here too. It's for everybody.
Yeah, there is some storytelling, but there's also, I guess we just want to encourage parents. Yeah. So this episode is about the postpartum period and, paternity leave. I'm not going to talk about maternity leave because I don't have maternity leave. And that's why I think the husbands, should tune in because we are going to, talk about Thomas's paternity leave and everything like that.
Yeah.
And just, husbands being helpful in the postpartum period. But yeah, let's look at what our postpartum period looked like. So let's see. In the beginning, the first couple of days, colostrum, the milk hasn't come in yet. I'm fresh from having a baby. I remember my mom came over. She's like, "You don't even look like you had a baby." So
I know. Yeah.
and truly, I didn't feel as bad as I felt the first time
with Charlie.
Yep, probably because I didn't need stitches. Is probably the main.
Yeah, I think
difference.
that was huge.
Yeah, I don't.
So you didn't have to heal from any sort of visible wound. Of course, the whole process is very difficult, just birthing a child, but I think you're right. Not having stitches definitely helped you bounce back quicker than Charlie's.
I remember distinctly somewhere in the first week feeling like I got hit by a bus with Charlie's birth. I don't remember that with this birth. I don't think it was as bad.
Yeah. I think there are several other reasons too, but yeah, that's definitely...
Second time around, your body knows what to do more. I had support. Thomas's paternity leave helped a lot. So Thomas went from having 2 weeks of paternity leave
with Charlie
to 12 weeks of paternity leave
with T.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think that was a game changer for us. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What else do you think contributed
to you being able to bounce back?
Yeah.
I think experience. You already mentioned that. And you already mentioned my availability at home as well. Yeah, but I think chiefly your experience, just having dealt with the whole thing already, like, you were armed in a lot of ways that you weren't with Charlie's. So even the breastfeeding process with Charlie's stressed you a lot. More than it did this time because it was the first time. Charlie wasn't latching. We had to get the procedure for him. He had a tongue tie. So never mind getting the stitches, but then there were all these other things that were sort of weighing on you. And then on top of that, I was only home for 2 weeks. So you were having to run errands. Like you were literally driving out, making calls, getting things done, stuff like that. So yeah, I think the experience definitely helped. And this time, my availability, right from when this child came out, we had a home birth again. So I was home for the birth, and that was it. I didn't go anywhere. I was just home. I woke up the next morning, and I didn't have work to worry about. I just had you and the baby to care for. So, and I took over a few things, grocery shopping and a few other things. Even after several weeks, I was still sort of taking care of those things. And then you came in. I remember the first time you went to Trader Joe's. That was your first time going shopping again. And then,
memory's better than mine.
We drove out together, and we went together to shop. I think we left the boys with your mom. Your mom was home taking care of them, and then we went out.
Yeah, I remember that.
So that was nice. When it happens like that, you have the support, and then most importantly, husband support, which is, I guess, part of the things we want to discuss today.
Yes. I was thinking something when you were talking, but I don't quite remember. But yes, to bounce off what you were saying, anyhow, teamwork really made the dream work.
Yeah, I really think so.
Yeah,
I think so.
it really did. And
Yeah.
dang, that what I was gonna say came back to me again and then left me right again. Anyway, so let's just go right into like paternity leave then, and like,
Yeah.
well, and just like father participation, in like the postpartum period. As a woman, as a mother, you are healing bodily. There are big demands being made on you, on your time, on your energy. You're breastfeeding, you're, doing all the things for your baby, even just to like go from laying down to sitting up to be able to breastfeed, it's like an ordeal. Everything is just a lot. Let's talk about paternity leave. How is that for you? Going from 2 weeks to now 12 weeks and just being able to, like we said, make the dream work, and really just be involved and bond with with both of your kids, actually, because you were able to bond, quickly within T. But then also there were so many times when you would care for Charlie so that I could care for T without worrying about, having both boys at the same time and kind of feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, I think it was great. Yeah, I would not, let that go, that whole period, that whole experience go for anything. I think it's worth it. It's important for fathers to be a part of this process. We learned a lot with Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
I had to, I went back to work after 2 weeks, but of course, it didn't mean that after work I wasn't able to bond with him. But it just wasn't the same as Charlie's. This time round, we started building our bond, me and Inti, right from day one. And I think it makes a huge difference. Charlie and I, of course, we do have a relationship, and it's no less than what I have with Inti, but it's just beautiful to be a part of the process and also restful. I think it's different just being present, like literally waking up and having your attention and focus be your family. It's some kind of wealth. That's the way I feel about it. It's like it's very nice, right? It's so nice, and I think we rob ourselves of so many things. Time with our children, just the amount of learning that I have done with Charlie, the teaching I did with Charlie over this period. It's like a whole year's teaching, if I'm not exaggerating. Like if I didn't have the block of time that I had those 3 months, and I was just going to work and coming home and it's sticking 30 minutes here, an hour here, just doing things, it would take a whole year to be able to impart what I've been able to impart into him for those 3 months. So I mean, the benefits are endless. For me, it was a great feeling. Personally, just also resting, waking up, not rushing to go to work, to be in this meeting, to be in that meeting, to meet this deadline. It was just a great time to just rest, reset, and keep what is important the most important. If I can put it that way. Like in this period, nothing is as important as my family, as the kids. And I had that period. I think that's the benefit of, taking a leave from your work because when seasons change, and this is what messes us up sometimes, and we don't even realize that, right? You have a change of season where you have a child, but nothing has changed in your life as far as your priorities. Your work is still the most important thing to you. So when you wake up in the morning, the thing you're thinking about is that meeting. So you are not aligning with your season. And so I think it's crucial. Just before we started recording, we were even talking about how, like I was telling Marcy, how even if you have extra hands, like let's say my mom showed up, her mom is around, my sister just hypothetically my sister is around, she's like, hey, I'm gonna come be with you guys and help take care of Marcy, and then all of a sudden you have like 4 people in the house Like your wife doesn't really need you to be around. It's not really about doing the household chores and
Getting
helping with the
stuff done.
cleaning. While there is no one and we have each other, of course, I would do that. It makes sense for me to do that. But even if we had extra hands to help, it's still important for me to be around. The value is not just reduced in going shopping and buying this and cleaning that. And babe, can you grab me this? Can you grab me that? Or I'll take the baby so you can have some time to rest. That's all good. But even if I had other people in the house to do that, my presence alone is really important. And for me to be a part of the process is also important. For her to feel like I am prioritizing our family. It's also important psychologically, emotionally. It's more than just, running errands and being like an errands person. For me, first, it's a statement of value. So when you have the chance to do that, take it, take that leave. Don't say, well, you don't need me around in the house. Like, don't hide in your work and let other people do, the errands. Be at home. Take that time off, reprioritize your list, put the family first, put the children first, and be at home. Another benefit is the bond that we have formed, right? Like together as husband and wife. How we did things together. There were nights we woke up. It wasn't scripted. We just learned to work around things. Okay, I'll take care of Charlie. You take care of the boy. I'll take the boy. Charlie needs to get up and pee. Like we just worked our way around things better, and we felt closer to each other. So I think, the benefits are endless. So as far as how I felt, it was great. I think it was the most important time um, of the year for me personally. And on top of that, I began this year with that because I was still in my leave at the top of the year. So it was a great time just to sit around, enjoy the festive seasons, do the things we, did together and just start off the year on a very calm note like that. It was great. I think every man should take that. Don't say, oh, I don't need to take it. You have hands to help. Do it. Do it for your wife, do it for your family, and do it for yourself.
You said so many wonderful things, and I had so many things going through my mind, but doubtful I will remember all of them. Let me see if I can work from the most recent things you said, like teamwork, working together. That has really been a blessing for me because it followed us back into you going back to work. Yeah. And I value that highly. Like we learned to work as a team in that period. And now that you're back at work, we have still committed to like working things as a team. And
you want to give a practical example?
Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
No. I was throwing it to you. Like
everything. I mean, everything. Like, everything. Taking care of the kids, taking care of the house.
Yeah.
Just life. Like we're doing everything together. Call to marriage. We've been having a lot of meetings. We've been planning meals, planning, outings for the kids, planning family time, planning, ministry things like everything.
Yeah.
So
everything. That's right.
Yeah, I really, really value that. I don't know if that was like explicitly because of your paternity leave or if that's like a thing that happens in families when there are multiple kids. You kind of just have to figure out, right? Like if your dynamic becomes more complex, I do feel like you also have to figure that out. Maybe for some couples, if it didn't happen with 2 children, it happened by the time you have 3 children, like you got to figure out. I mean, it's not going to, one person's not going to be able to do everything on either side of things, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, so I really, really appreciate that. I like when you talked about rest. Interestingly, we have been trying to, I don't know if institute is the word, but there's a word I'm looking for. But we've been trying to basically prioritize and incorporate regular rest into our lives. And I mean, a deep rest, not just sleeping, but really understanding Sabbath and what God considers rest and just trying to make more sense of what that looks like and the value and benefiting from it, and this is not an episode about Sabbaths, but I do want to say, like, when you are talking about rest for you as a father, as a worker and a provider for our household and so forth, I think that's so very important. Like taking rest. It did feel very restful.
Yeah.
And I will say, like going from 1 to 2, I mean, I'm not going to say it was a breeze. That might be an exaggeration, but people, check in because they know that, okay, you have one more kid than you had before. Like there might be stress or you might feel overwhelmed. Like people would check in, like, how are you feeling? Like, how is it going from 1 to 2? And like, I've consistently told people, like, you know what? It's been great. Like, and I've given Thomas the credit after God. I just feel like him taking that time. Yeah, to be at home, like really made things easy and made things doable and enjoyable. And we spent a lot of quality time. We went to the library. We went, here, there, and everywhere. Not anywhere special, just like doing daily life, just doing the little things together.
Yeah. I also sort of took the time to change things around the house. So, and I think it would.
Oh yeah, that was so
would have been
helpful
difficult if I was, still working all year long, all year round. We decluttered. I, sort of moved things around the house, let some things out, just remodeled the space. Because we have another baby, and we were looking for different ways to maximize the space. We talked about using more vertical space, which we're in a 1-bedroom apartment. It's not like a tiny, tiny 1-bedroom apartment, but we weren't taking advantage of vertical space. So we had some things just laterally, on the ground, and then it felt like there wasn't much space, or we could use more space, but then we had space up. So it's just little things like that
which I would have never thought of, by the way. And that's why it's so helpful for you to have had enough of a break to be able to take the time to think about such things. Because I think if you were in your normal grind, even if it crossed your mind at some point, it's like there's some things that cross our mind and we just never have the chance to really do them.
That's the thing.
And when you get a chance to rest, you can finally like kind of hunker down and figure out how to get that thing done that's like been a random thought in your head,
Yeah. I did have that thought all throughout the year, but the execution was just difficult. Like you're getting home by 6:30, 7 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to be getting home and be looking around and having the strength to walk around the house. And I did my little floor plan. I just put my engineering cap on, and then I say, okay, I'm going to put this here. If we put this here and put that, like you don't have that luxury of time, like you said. But being home, waking up, not being too worried about finding time to do this and to do that. And another, piece was just taking a little break from church, at least for a brief moment, and not being like too involved in everything. Also help. Just, breathing a little bit. And then once you have the time on your hands, at least this is how I felt, you are able to, take any initiative and run with it. So, I ran errands, I met people to buy certain things. I was able to plan. I did a lot of planning for so many different things, even for call to marriage and for what we're going to do and this year and the community. And it was just perfect to do all that. So, you might say, well, that's also work, but that is a passionate kind of work. And when you work on something like that, it feeds you in a positive way. Now, I do like my job, but I'll be honest with you, I'm not as passionate about my job as I am with call to marriage, or as I am with marriage and the things of God, period. And I can honestly state that. Of course, I respect my job. I, do what I need to do, but it's just not the same. So it didn't give the same feeling. And on top of that, I was in control of my time. I was in my own space. I woke up every day and did as much as I wanted to do. And it was fun, just like, like a passion project. So overall, it was really good. I think, as I mentioned already, it's worth it to just take that time off and be with your family. for Charlie to wake up and just see me and start the day right with me, right? Without rushing to go anywhere. It's nice.
Yeah, well needed, well enjoyed.
Yeah, yeah, really well enjoyed. It felt like like a long vacation, right? Just having all four of us present almost at every time, not just almost at every time together, doing things together, eating together, like just living together. It's beautiful. I think it's nice. And take that break.
That's the
Yeah.
thing, yeah. And I was gonna, sorry, you can finish your thought, sorry.
Yeah. Another thing we were talking about, and sorry, we're just all over the place, but
Nah.
that's how it is. Um, you know, one of the things I did was to anticipate, right? So I knew, okay, we're gonna have a baby in October. Sometimes I stopped using my time at work, and I know that everybody who works in a corporate setting already knows this. It's not like I'm telling you something completely new, but just let it be at the forefront of your mind. Plan for it. If you plan for it, you're more likely to do it. If you don't, and you just say, all right, we'll decide when we get there, it may not work. You may still find yourself, there's this going on. I really have to do this. Maybe I can do, 3 days work from home. I mean, like, don't do it. Take that break. Take that break. That's my personal recommendation. Now, maybe your situation will be totally different. You're like, no, no, no. Like, maybe for whatever reason, for financial reason, my personal conviction is and we did take a pay cut, of course. I
Well,
wasn't
yeah,
paid
yes, I was gonna say
100%
that. Hmm.
throughout the whole 3 months. It kept going down and down and down. But each time I saw my paycheck, I was even happier. It's like, yeah, yeah, I feel like I'm paying for this and I love it. This is the cost that comes with being home with my family. You're going to pay me what 60% of what I earn. I'm fine with that. Take it. Take that. Like, I don't need to come in to make that extra. I'm happy with you keeping that, and I will stay with my family. So plan for it, anticipate it, and start putting time away. I did that at the tail end of my, leave. I was like, no, I'm going to use some of my personal time, my vacation time. I spoke with the HR. I was like, just throw them all in there. I'm not coming now. Coming at this on this date, on that day, and I just gave them the date. So that's how mindful I was, and that's how enjoyable the whole thing was for me, just being with my family.
So yeah, and I like that you brought up the reducing pay because sorry, the reason why I may be looking aloof. You say so many things and I'm like, oh, that's good, and I have a response, and by the time it gets to me, I'm like, what was I gonna say?
Oh boy.
You would think I haven't done 50 plus podcast episodes. Anyway, yeah, the reduction in pay. I was glad you brought that up because like we're not saying make, I don't know, miracles happen. God can make miracles happen though. But, like if he doesn't make a miracle happen, Thomas only had 2 weeks with Charlie and it was what it was. And those 2 weeks though did also come as a sacrifice, just by the
Yeah.
way. It wasn't because his job gave him 2 weeks. It was because he was unemployed or he was technically employed because he got the job the day that Charlie was born, but he
Yeah.
had to request the 2 weeks. And so he was in between jobs and wasn't getting paid for those 2 weeks. That's what I'm trying to say. So it came with a sacrifice. Now, this time he was paid for some of the time, but like he said, there was a reduction in pay. So there was still a sacrifice that he chose to make to extend the amount of time he could have. So do what you can, husbands, within your capacity to spend that extra time with your family. If your job's only giving you a week, try to stretch it to 2. If
Yeah.
your job is giving you 6 weeks, try to stretch it to 8 weeks. Let the pay. Money's not everything. This is a time you're not going to get back, and this is a time that your wife will really value you for. There's something I've heard a lot it wasn't my personal experience, but just so many women that I've talked to, and it's more so about pregnancy, but I would venture to say it applies to postpartum too, is like the way.
I think the boy is awake.
Yeah.
And he just woke up. I'll go get him.
Okay. Should I keep going or should I pause?
I think you should keep going.
Okay. The way that a wife or that a woman is treated during her pregnancy is hard for her to forget, particularly when it's bad. If she felt neglected, if she felt, mistreated or anything like that, like it's hard to forget. And for a lot of women, hard to forgive too. And so I feel like postpartum period is probably similar. Like when you are healing and you're in such a sensitive period and you have this baby crying for your attention all the time and very demands are high and everything, whatever you can do to love your wife and to sacrifice for the family is going to be so well appreciated. And on the other hand, if it looks like you're prioritizing other things above your family, I think that is going to stick with people too in a negative way that you wouldn't want. And I wouldn't like to see that for families, because I've seen the struggles that marriages go through. I've seen the struggles that families go through. You don't want to add to the pressure and to the, add strain to what's already strained or whatever the case. You two boys.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'll take the one you have.
Okay.
Put him down.
What guy? We're back.
Just like you saw it happen right here on camera. That's exactly what we've been doing. Just really working together, like as a team.
One boy gone, another boy here.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I was saying that, gentlemen, you don't want to add to sort of bad memories for your family, and you don't want them to feel like they're not the priority, especially in such a sensitive period of time. If anything, you want them to feel valued and cared for to the point that you made one or two sacrifices, like I said, to maybe take that 2 weeks to 3 weeks or whatever the case. I think many wives anyway will value highly your sacrifice to just be really present and care for your wife and family in that early postpartum season. And another thing I wanted to bring up is, or kind of reiterate, double down on with what you said, was basically reducing responsibilities and obligations outside the home. That's another way that you can make that sacrifice for your family, where even if you do have to go back to work, what other priorities were you having or obligations were you having before this baby came? Maybe you were really active in church. Maybe you were playing soccer every single, week, a few times a week. Maybe whatever the case is. Can you reduce some of those activities just to put your family first for this period? I think that is going to mean so much to your children, to your spouse. And it's just for a season, and you will feel restful, as Thomas said, and you will feel, you'll cherish the time, and you'll find things, that you maybe were looking to do and didn't have the time to do until now, and you'll get those things done. All kinds of blessings, I think, come from just taking the time.
Yeah. I mean, it's also very refreshing, especially if you're in a space where you feel stuck, like whether on your job or somewhere, like whatever it is, you feel stuck in one part of your life or in one area of your life. It's a great time. It's like a God-given period for you to just pause. You have a good reason to do so, and then you're going to be very refreshed, and then you begin to think in a different way or in a different set of patterns. Like literally, I wish I could paint for you to see, like your brain rewires differently when you get out of the routine. As soon as you come out of it, you are in a better place to see well, to see different perspectives that you weren't even looking at. So it's just a great time for, driving initiative, being innovative, like thinking, rethinking, making decisions, because you're in a very good place. You're able to make a decision. Do I really want to be in this field? Do I want to do this? Is this something I want to use my time for? So it's a great place for thinking, for planning, for strategizing, just for renewing yourself. Let's put it that way, because that's very difficult for a lot of people to do who find themselves in a routine. Like, it's a machine that runs and it keeps running and running and running. What this does for you is just power off the machine, let it cool down a little bit, clean up the parts so that when you start it again, it works better. It's more refined, it's cleaner, it's not clunky, it's better. That's the way I feel going back to work. So
Nice
one of the things I
analogy.
did practically, let me give you an example. Well, so I've been in my current role for a little over 2 years. And overall, I've been in my office for more than 3 years. So just, over 3 years. So that's one of the decisions I made. Wow, do I want to go back to this role? Or I want to look for other opportunities? And there are several factors that came into play. Do I want a higher up role, a role that is a little bit more challenging, that I can grow into, that would also give me the, opportunity to learn and become better in my field? And I made all those decisions, and then I streamlined everything down, picked a few jobs that I really liked, and just applied to those jobs. And so I did my interviews while I was on my leave, away from work. Very good. If you ask anybody who is actively working while also looking for a job, they'll always tell you that's like working a second job. So being on leave gave me that clarity. I wasn't just throwing my resume everywhere. I saw certain jobs. I was able to say, I'm not going to spend my time on this. These are the ones I like. If they don't like me, I'm okay. I'll go back to my role and then work from there. That was my strategy. So thankfully, one of them, went through. I had several rounds of interviews. They gave me a project that I was able to take
Oh my
time to
gosh. Can you
do.
imagine if you were working during that?
Yeah. So I had a competitive advantage by simply taking time off.
Yeah.
If anybody or someone else somewhere who also liked that role applied while working, they would not be able to match me. I had the time to sit on the project they gave me, and to show them that I am capable of doing this, versus someone who is, working around the clock while also trying to put some time, away. So it's a very privileged place to be, and I hope, I wish that every man would have that. So, but my point is, it gave me clarity in my thinking and my decision making processes. So I was able to decide. Went through the interviews. I was calm. I went through it, and then just this past week, they gave me a verbal offer. So I'm sort of in transition now. I'm, waiting for them to do paperwork and whatnot, and then I'll transition from my current role to this new role. So you see that what the newness out that I was talking about, like, it's been a refreshing season for me. So with a new baby, comes a new role or a new job. It's just in line with the season. And that's exactly what happened with Charlie too. Like she was saying, I got the job the very day Charlie was born, and I feel like it's becoming a pattern. So I don't know. Maybe by the time he's turning 3, and we're having or 2 or however long it takes, and I'm having another baby, it may not be my job per se, but I would be taking the time again to look at other areas of my life or our life and refresh things and renew certain things, and then grow them better. So that has been my experience, and I really hope that every man would see the value in that, and take time off to prioritize the family. And let's be honest, it is time you would never have back. The time I've spent with this little kid here, with Charlie. For those of you who follow us on social media, you probably saw me going out, running on the soccer field with Charlie, just laughing. putting him on his bike, playing with him, all gone. I'm back to work. So if you don't seize that season, if you don't take advantage of the season, it's gone. You will never have it again. And the kids are not waiting for you. You know, Charlie's approaching his 4th birthday now.
He grew up so fast just in those 3 months that you were home.
He did. He really did.
He really grew up.
He really did.
Weird.
He hit a lot of milestones. So it's time you will never have back. So cherish it and do whatever you can to get as much time away from whatever you're doing to be with your family. And again, like I said, if you have to plan for it in advance, do it. You know, there are some monies that came, I just tucked them away somewhere. I didn't, I pushed certain monies away because in my mind I was thinking, if I'm going to be on leave, I'm not sure how this is all going to play out. So I'll just put this here. I won't touch this. I'll do this. I'll do that. I won't touch this. So value it so much that you will begin working toward that so that it doesn't just catch you by surprise and then it's more difficult for you to make that decision. Value it, cherish it, and start making plans for it.
Yes. And I like what you said. Yeah, the pay decrease.
Yeah.
It does give you an opportunity to be creative. And it kind of was exciting, like you said, to even see the money come in less and realize like, oh, we're making it though. Like,
yeah, we can actually live on this. Well, so that means, so yeah, I'll let you go, but I see where you're going with that.
Yeah, that's all. I'm not even going to go into details. The other thing I was going to say was that you mentioned earlier about, other people coming in to help. But there's just, in my opinion, or for me personally, there's nobody whose help I want more than my spouse. Yeah. I don't, I am grateful when people come and offer to help in different ways. But the person whose help I want the most is my spouse. So another reason to consider, taking advantage of paternity leave or taking as many days off as you possibly can to support your wife or your, the mother of your children.
Yeah.
That's the help that she probably wants the most. You're the closest person to me. You are the closest person to the children who I'm, in this postpartum period with. You understand the dynamics of our household. You understand where things go, or even if you don't understand as well, it's a good time to learn, yeah. Because I know some husbands may not even understand some of the dynamics of the things in the kitchen or whatever, but it's a good time to even learn. But it's like I so much, prefer on a day-to-day basis having you around than having anybody else around, including my own mother, who I love so much, and anybody else in the family. Like I just want my husband.
And I think that's how it has to be,
the guy
right?
who I made this kid with. Can he be with me for the kid?
That's how it ought to be. And I would argue that most women would say the same, right? I wish I had my husband here. Just be the first person that can always be around me. And it's a great time to also really walk the love you have for your spouse and your children. For the mothers, they don't have any option, right? The baby needs them, and they'll do it. So maybe it may not be as, visible as when a father does it, but the opposite goes the same way. When the father is not present, it's also very visible. Like, are you going to put us first and prioritize us? Are you going to prioritize me? I know there are some circumstances that the situation is really difficult for some couples, but I'm speaking idealistic here. I'm being very idealistic, and I think you ought to perceive it and desire it and work toward everything I'm saying now. And I have lived both worlds. So I had 2 weeks and now I had 3 months. So I've lived not having the time. So I'm not just, criticizing husbands who don't do it. I didn't have a lot of time with her when we had Charlie. So even when
you had the 2 weeks, you really made the 2 weeks count.
I did.
So it's really not just about time. We're not telling you it has to be 3 months. Because honestly, I wish I could have Thomas home indefinitely.
I wish I could. I wish I could have 3 years. Think about that. If I could have 3 years with this boy to get to where Charlie is, if you guys think
Charlie's somewhere,
whatever Charlie is so great. Whatever we've been able to teach him by the grace of God is so good. Imagine having 3 years being at home, the two of us working on this boy,
to form your children,
building in him what we want to build in him, inculcating in him values and the shaping his character. I mean, we would go a long way for God, right? You would do a lot. So I wish, and especially I wish mothers, that's a whole other thing to talk about, but I really wish mothers could have a lot of time with their children, and fathers too, but mostly mothers. It just breaks my heart how mothers just roll back into work after a few weeks and then the child is somewhere else. I don't think that is how it ought to be. That's the situation we have now in most parts of Western world, especially in America, I should say. But anyway, my point is, it's a great season to just love your family, right? It's very difficult to recreate what we've been through for the past 3 months. Even if she wanted to clean the bathroom, she literally could not do it, right? So it's nice to serve your partner in her most vulnerable state, let's say, where she doesn't have the strength to do certain things, or it would be more painful for her to sacrifice to do certain things. So I can step in and do that, and that is an act of service that goes to show her, hey, I care about you. Like, I see her lifting something, I'll tell her, don't do it, I'll do it. And it's just little things like that. Like, I would do this, I'll go out to do this, I'll take care of Charlie. I'll take the boy to the living room, you can rest. Like, simple things like that. Just the season presents a great opportunity to improve on your love, in your bond, and grow as a couple. You would literally grow closer to each other, and you would cherish each other more. You would value each other more, and you would literally find love tangible. That you don't need any convincing that my spouse really loves me or cares about me. When I say I love you, there's so much meaning behind those words. It's not just I love you. It's more than that. It's I love you built on years of working together, months of serving the family, making certain sacrifices. Of course, our brains cannot recount immediately all of that, but it's there. It's built in there. It's baked in there. And I think that's another thing to take advantage of.
Yep. So we're bringing this episode to a close, but I kind of feel like we started talking about the postpartum period and didn't maybe cover it enough from the perspective of like having a baby. I mean, maybe from the mother's perspective, I can say like
I feel like we talked more about my perspective on this one,
which was perfect, So I guess what I want to say is maybe drop a comment so that if we do a part, like a continuation of this to kind of go into more of like what that postpartum journey looks like for a mother, then I can, it'll give me a sense of, direction, just make sure I can include certain things that would cater to our audience. So what is it that you want to know, about, maybe you don't have a kid yet, and you want to know what should you expect, in the 3 months after having a baby, or maybe you have a child already, but there's just, a question that you have, or maybe it's a personal interest in us that you have about our story, this time around, or whatever the case. I would just love to hear from you guys in the comments, and we will take that into consideration for the next episode.
Yeah.
And that's all from me.
Yeah, I think this is great. It's nice talking through this. I like documenting, and I like when we talk about seasons in real time. So it would be nice to look back to this video even for ourselves and, see where we have come from and listen to ourselves talking through this season. So I hope you stick with your family as a man. If you're a man, I hope you find the strength in you to prioritize your family and to take some time off work or something, and put that time toward taking care of your family and lead by serving in that way. God bless you. We love you, and we'll see you in the next one.